Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is the Paddy Power, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather, or the gym.
Hello there, thank you for joining us for the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington and I'm really pleased to be joined by David Jennings, Paul Keeley and Paddy Power's Frank Hickey to look ahead to a great weekend of action. Some crack two-year-old racing at Newmarket on Saturday, followed by the head-scratcher that is the Cambridgeshire. 2 other races on ITV4 from Haydock Park, and then 4 group races in Naas in Ireland on Sunday. Plus all the rest of the best bets that are taking place this weekend. Let's get stuck into that Newmarket card, and we will start with the first of the ITV4 races. It's the 150, the Juddmonte Royal Lodge Stakes, a race won in recent years by types as brilliant as Roaring Lion and the Great Frankel. Whether we have another one as good as them remains to be seen. It's competitive. Frank, take it away with a show of betting.
Yeah, Beatboxers 9-4, Arthur Kitt 7-2, Kadar 11-2, Cape of Good Hope and Quay Currency are 6-1, Mohawk 10-1, Duke of Hazard 16-1, and we're 25s bar.
And because it has been far too bloody long since we had you on, Frank, I need a tip from you.
Yeah, this is a tricky little race. Beatboxer's a little bit of unknown. He's won his 2 races very impressively. I didn't think the Sandown races mixed messages from that form. And to me, he's short enough at 9-4. I'm willing to take him on. I was torn between 2, Quay Currency and Kadar, and I'm just coming down on the side of Quay Currency. He ran a decent enough time up in Salisbury when winning at listed level the last day over 7 furlongs. He was very strong at the finish there. And that race has actually worked out quite nicely. During the race, there was a small gap for him to go through, and he was very brave to go through it for a 2-year-old having only his 3rd run. The second, that day, Dark Jedi, was very unlucky up in air not to give away a penalty to a few in a novice race. He should really have won. The 3rd, Dubai Dominion, was second to Sangarius at listed level in Doncaster. The 5th, Nate the Great, kind of ties the form in with Arthur Kitt a little bit. And the 6th, Arctic Sound, won a Group 3 at Newmarket yesterday, and that was after he won a nursery off 91 at Doncaster. So the form's worked out relatively well, and as I said, the clock backed up the performance that day. Now, Kadar's the one I'm most afraid of. He didn't get a clear run of Haydock on debut. He was an expensive purchase. I think it was $700,000, but he picked up really well in the last furlong at Haydock and looked a cold going places, but he's just potential against. We know Quay Currency is very solid, and I think he's a fair each way bet. He's 6-1, 13-2, that kind of price.
Thank you, Frank. DJ, what's your thoughts on this one?
Almost identical to Frank, only for the opposite way around. I have Kadar in front of Quay Currency. Kadar is really, really interesting here because it was only 5-2 on its debut against a horse who had won a Newmarket maiden and posted an RPR of 87 in Wildstern. So obviously big things were expected. And it was one of these novice races where nothing went right for Kadar. Was stuck in a pocket. Clifford Lee couldn't get out for a while, and it looked like it was too late when he did eventually get out. But when he did get out, he's a big giant stride. He's a really imposing individual. I thought he was really impressive that day. There's a bit of substance to the form too. The aforementioned Wildstern obviously won a maiden. The 5th Home Prejudice won a nursery, bolted up in a nursery in Redcar the other day off 73. The 6th Home was second in the nursery at Newcastle next time. So there weren't trees in behind. There was some bit of substance to it. I actually interviewed Carl Burke for the big read, which is going in the paper on Sunday. I interviewed him on Monday in Tattersall's in Ferryhouse, and this was one of the first horses we spoke about because I loved his debut, and he's already thinking of guineas next year for Kadar. He really, really likes him. He said we didn't see the best of him by Haydock. He said he's got a huge big stride, and he's the only horse they have at home which has a similar type of stride that can go with Lawrence, and he thinks the world of him. I think the world of him, and hopefully Kadar can get us off to a good start on Saturday.
Lovely stuff. Now then, down in deepest, darkest Surrey, Paul Keeley is feeling rough. He's got the lurgy, but Keels, that has had the benefit for us of meaning that your sleep is so bad. You've been studying form even harder, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been up all night. I was writing a column at 4 o'clock in the morning, sort of thing you do when you can't sleep. Yeah, I think anybody who backs Beatboxer at 9-4 is completely off their rocker. If you want to chance something that with a bit of potential, you might as well go with Kadar because Beatboxer's form is rubbish. The handicap has given him a mark of 97, which means he'd be getting £5 on Victory Command if it was a handicap. The Victory Command's 28-1. Obviously, there's potential there, but the horse he beat at Haydock last time has twice been beaten further off marks in the low 80s in nurseries. So I just don't get the 9-4. It's a stupid price. I like Kadar. I was very impressed with him at Haydock. He obviously needs to improve as well. Very interesting quotes from Colbert afterwards, though. He said he'd have no hesitation going to the Guineas as he thinks he'd be competitive. I mean, they're bold words from a trainer that obviously has had some decent horses go through his hands. And my only worry with Cadar now is that the jockey said he didn't seem to mind the cut in the ground and it's going to be a lot faster. But it'd be Cadar for me, and I'll be place laying big box as a silly price.
None of you cold-hearted unromantics have mentioned the Arthur Kit. What a lovely story that would be, Kills. Can you give the second favourite any chance?
You can do, yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, the only horse that's beat him is Too Darn Hot, and everyone says that he's an absolute superstar. We shall see. We don't know about Too Darn Hot's form because I don't think any of the horses that have run that he's beaten in his last two starts have run since, and Arthur Kitt's going to do that this time. For sure, he's got a chance on the form, but without a doubt, he's one of the best in the race as it stands.
OK, we'll return to the 2-year-old colts in a minute, but next we'll do the 225. It's the Juddmonte Cheveley Park Stakes, a Group 1 in which Pretty Pollyanna and Signora Cabello, who fought out a magnificent duel in the Prix last time, rear post. Pretty Pollyanna got the best that day, and the market, Frank, thinks she'll do so again here.
Yeah, she's 11-8 with us. Signora Cabello 4-1, Fairland 11-2, Lady Kaya 8-1, Queen of Bermuda 10-1, along with So Perfect, and we're 20s bar. DJ, give us the winner.
So Perfect for me, Bruce. I think 10-1 is a big price. She's a little bit of a forgotten filly. She did something very rare for one out of Ballydoyle, that she won her debut at Navan. Then she was caught in a pocket at Naas next time. You can forget about that. She probably could have won the Queen Mary. She flew home. She was beaten 3/4 of a length. I thought she potentially was the best filly in the race. Then she beat Skitter Scatter, who went on to win a Group 1, and Lethal Promise was in behind, who has won since a Group 3 at Fairyhouse in the Grange Con. And then when she was second to advertise in the Phoenix Stakes, obviously against the Colts, like, that was a cracking race, and she was back from a break as well. I don't think we've seen the best of her yet. And a couple of key things here. Aidan O'Brien has won the last 2 runnings, but he won it with Brave Anna in 2016, who was 25-1 shot a second string. And I think at this stage sometimes the market reads too much into jockey bookings and first and second strings with these Ballydoyle 2-year-olds. I think they don't really know what the pecking order is. I think So Perfect all year has been pretty much in their top 3 juvenile fillies anyway, and I don't think she's got a chance to show how good she is. I still think she's progressive. I think 10-1 is a big price. I think they're reading too much into jockey bookings.
Keels, it's a cracking year for 2-year-olds, isn't it? I mean, I know all the focus is really on the colts, but the fillies are decent as well. Who do you think will emerge victorious here and progress their 1,000 guineas claims?
I don't think there's any doubt that Pretty Pollyanna deserves to be favourite. I mean, she's obviously absolutely bolted up that day at Newmarket, followed up in France. She probably wasn't as impressive as in France, but Signora Cabello, who was second, is a good horse and reopposing. That is the best form. But a small table, I don't know what Dave thinks when we come to him, but I just think Lady Kaya is a cracking each way bet. We might get a bit of a idea as to how strong the form of the Moyglare was when Main Edition runs in the Rockfell this afternoon. But Main Edition went miles too fast in that race. And Lady Kaya followed her. And with 2 furlongs to go, Lady Kaya was the only filly on the bridle. Everything else was being rode along. She travelled like a sprinter. She's by Dandy Man, who won a Palace House, finished second to Miss Andretti in a King's Stand years and years ago. To me, it looks like she's crying out to be dropped to a sprint trip, and I give her a serious shot for a small stable. OK, so DJ and Kills are taking on the front runners in the market. Frank, are you going to do likewise?
Yeah, I think Pretty Pollyanna is going to be difficult enough to beat, like, as in going back to the Duchess of Cambridge. She was very impressive there. I know the race kind of was a bit messy, but even in France, I think that track would have suited Signora Cabello a bit better than Newmarket possibly will, and she's still grounded out. I think Signora Cabello, I'd say she might end up just being a 5 furlong horse. I'm not sure 6 is going to see at her very best. I'm kind of with David here, though. I think So Perfect looks very big based on a line through Skitter Scatter. Considering she beat Skitter Scatter, she's unlucky. I'm just reiterating what David said, but she's unlucky not to win the Queen Mary, only half length behind Advertise in a Group 1 the last day in the Phoenix Stakes. Like 10-1, I think she probably should be closer to maybe second fav based on her form. Like, Skitter Scatter's been underestimated all year and she keeps doing it, and this horse actually beat her. I wouldn't be surprised if this went off half the price it is now.
OK.
I think it's a fair each way bet against the fav.
Jolly good, thank you, Frank. The 3 o'clock is the Juddmonte Middle Park Stakes, another Group 1 in which 10 sovereigns so impressive and so highly regarded heads the market. Will he be the one who proves to be the main man when it comes to the Colts Classic next year? We shall see, but more importantly, is he a good bet at odds on here? Frank, what's the latest betting?
Yeah, he's 4-6, Jash 7-2, Sergei Prokofiev 8-1, Emirati Anna 9-1, Legends of War and Rumble in the Jungle are 20s, and we're 25s bar.
Keels, this is a watch and admire job, or is there a bet here?
It's probably a watch and admire job. I mean, you know, having seen 10 Sovereigns 2 wins, I mean, he's been very impressive both times. I'm not 100% certain how good the form is, but I mean, he's done it very, very easily. You'd imagine he's got more to come. So he's a worthy favourite. Would I back him at odds on? No. Jash has looked very good, but the handicap was only giving him a mark of 98. So he's gonna, you're gonna have to improve on what he's done so far against rubbish. I think if there's an each way bet in the race, Emirati Anna, the York winner, the Gimcrack winner, 9-1, looks a fair each way bet for me. I thought that was a fair race, the Gimcrack, and he did it well enough.
Okay, if there is 8 runners, obviously there's a lot of each-way potential. David, how are you going to approach this one?
Oh, I think there's an each-way play here as well. I think Sergei Prokofiev is the each-way play. Again, like I said in the previous race, Aidan O'Brien has a habit of winning this with second strings, and US Navy Flag won it last year. Sioux Nation was favoured, and he won it with Crusade, who was a second string to reply as well in 2011. So it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that he could win it with an outsider. 10 Sovereigns, I think there's a bit of recency bias here. I think 10 Sovereigns has gone and done it twice in the last couple of weeks and looked breathtaking either time. Aidan said to me a couple of weeks ago that after he made its debut that they thought the world of him in the spring and he had a setback. That's why we didn't see him for so long. But with Sergei Prokofiev, I just think last time, you can forget his run in the Phoenix Stakes. He drifted in the market. He obviously was very sick after Coventry, like so many of Aidan's. He was far too keen and it never looked like he was going to get involved at all. He's got a tongue strap on this time. If you go back to that Coventry Stakes, he was by far the best horse in the race, if you ask me. It was one of Ryan Moore's worst rides I've seen in a long time. He was veering in and out. He showed immense ability to get as close as he did that day. Maybe he hasn't progressed since, but with so many of Aidan's that were sick, they've taken a run to get over it, and maybe that run was in the Phoenix Stakes. Like, for him to go off 7-4 in what was effectively a 2-horse race between himself and Advertised suggests there was something severely wrong. There obviously was. I think there'll be more pace here. I think he'll settle better in a tongue strap. I think he's the only horse that can get close to 10 Sovereigns, and at the prices, I think he's the play each way.
And Frank?
I would definitely question Sergei being the best horse in the Coventry. I think Calix was miles the best there, David, to be honest. But for me, 10 Sovereigns,
right,
the clock doesn't lie. He's a machine. The last day when he won, he ran a time only 0.34 seconds faster than Urban Beat. But I think what's impressive was the sectional time for the last 3 furlongs. He ran it in 33.38 while Urban Beat went 35.04. Now what that suggests is the sprint handicap was run at a lot more even tempo, and the 2-year race 10 Sovereigns in was more of a sprint. But what he was able to do in that last 3 furlongs is incredible. I think he's potentially a superstar. Now whether he'll get a mile, I don't think so, but I think over sprint trips he's near on unbeatable. For me, if I was looking for a bet, looking at the current prices, I would be looking at Emirati Anna without when that goes up this evening. He's drawn 3. I think if 10 Sovereigns doesn't lead, this will probably get to the front on the rail, and I think 10 Sovereigns will pick him up, but I think he might hold the rest off. Like, Jash was impressive on the clock the first day, but again, he's a bit defined still. And Emirati Anna, of course, Kevin Ryan won the Gimcrack and this race with I think it was a stare a few years back, and he's trying to do the same here. But for me, 10 Sovereigns is a superstar.
Okay, if I give you a free £10 bet on the Guineas, who are you going to back? I just want the name of the horse. Keels.
Sangarius.
DJ.
Too darn hot.
And Frank.
I'll tell you now, Quarto is absolute machine.
Excellent. Right, it gets harder. The 340, the bet 365 Cambridgeshire, and it is Denawanaveil 10-1. What's the latest betting, Frank?
Alfaris, Wissahikon, Kinrin and Dance Terrier 10-1 at the head of the market. Very Talented 11-1. Kenya 12-1. Sharjah Bridge, Style Hunter 14-1. Pivion, Afak, UAE Prince 16-1, and we're 20s bar. And we're actually going 7 places on this as well, Bruce.
7 places. When I find myself in times of trouble, I reach out to Frank for the winner of a big Saturday handicap. So, Frank, who wins the Cambridgeshire?
Again, based on the clock, Dance Terrier deserves to be the head of the market. He was very unlucky at the Curragh where he was held up off the pace and they went slow, but again his sections were very strong. He's going to be very difficult to keep out of the frame, but I just think there might be a little bit of advantage in being drawn high here, or definitely drawn towards either rail. So I'm actually going to throw 3 darts at massive prices at it. The one I'm most sweet about is Via Serendipity, drawn 33. He's been ridiculously consistent this season. He won the Shergar Mile the last day off a mark of 95. He's only up to 98 here. He's been 4th in the Gigaset International over 7, even though a mile's more suitable for him. He was 3rd in a race behind Tiger de Thiers and Escobar in Sandown off 94. He's won at Sandown. 2nd a chance for it behind Seniority, when Seniority was rated, I think, about £14 lower than what he is now. And he's won at Newmarket before. I think there's an awful lot to like. And Gerald Massey, who's having an incredible season, rides him as well. So I think he's a massive each-way player. And he's about 25. I think it's as big as 33 to 1 out there. The other one I think is interesting is Morden. He's drawn in 25. He's £5 within, due to the fact he was just touched off at Sandown a few weeks back. He wears pieces for the first time here too, which might be the key. He's had only 8 races, so he's very much unexposed. 3 wins, 4 seconds, and an unplaced run in the John Smith's Cup. Again, I can see him going well at a big price. And one last dart I'm going to throw at is What's the Story, drawn 2. It's going to have 1 on the opposite rail. He was very unlucky at Galway in that Premier Handicap over Mile of Riven Light 1. He was coming to run. I don't think he'd have won, but I think he would have finished in the frame, and he got blocked in the run. They just eased off him. He's 6th in the John Smith's Cup, 4th in the Hunt Cup off the same mark. I think this 9 furlongs will be ideal for him, and if the far side is the place to be, I think he can outrun his odds as well. I think he's about 40 to 1.
Okay, DJ, you proved yourself the handicap king with the E-Ball winner, for which many thanks again. Who's going to win the Cambridgeshire?
I thought I had found the Cambridgeshire winner on the first Sunday in May, so that'll tell you how long ago it was. It was the Guineas meeting, and Sharjah Bridge finished 2nd to Oasis Charm in a handicap over course and distance. And the minute the race was over, he finished 2nd. He was beaten a half a length, tried it very short and running. I said, there's my Cambridgeshire winner. Obviously, I'm a little bit disappointed that Andrea Atzeni is not riding. He's riding UAE Prince, who's a bit of an enigma. I presume UAE Prince just works really well, but they don't know what his best trip is. He ran over 1.5 miles last time against Great Britain, dropping 3 furlongs in trip now. Maybe they think he's slightly better handicap. But Sharjah Bridge, I just think this is a horse that just has so much class. I think he's got the potential to be a proper Group 3 or Group 2 horse. As I said, he was 2nd to Oasis Charm that day. That was off 96. That was off 99. He's now rated 106, so he's gone up £7. But you can forget the run in the Wolferton at Royal Ascot, because he was 3 wide the whole way. So he'd no chance, even though he's only beaten 4 lengths by Monarch's Glen. Then he went to York. He traded at 1.26. I would advise anybody to have a look at the race at York against Poet Society, because just watching the race, he just would poke your eye out. He looked the best horse for basically for maybe 7.5 furlongs up the mile, traded at 1.26 and running after being so keen the whole way. Now, the key thing here, and the bit I'm worried about, obviously Andrea's gone for the other one, the trip. I know Roger Varian is not convinced he's a thorough stayer, but I just think he's got so much class. I think he'll settle better here in this bigger field. He is, I think, 14s with powers. There's 18s out there, and I think he might even drift further, because he looks like the stable second string on jockey bookings with Sylvester riding.
And you've tipped him.
And I've tipped him. Obviously, that'll push him out quite a bit. But if there's 7 places with Paddy Power, I will be absolutely devastated if he doesn't finish in the first 7.
Okay, feels like about a day and a half since we last heard from Kills. Kills, who wins the Cambridgeshire?
Yeah, well, you only have to look at last year's results to realise that getting the best handicap horse is only half the battle, isn't it? Thunder in Blue ran off 93 last year, finished 7th. He wouldn't even have got in the race this year off that mark. But if he was running now, he'd be giving £12 at the top weight. So, anything can happen. The winner was 50 to 1, the second was 100 to 1, the third was 50 to 1. But at least with 7 places, you've got a real shout. I've thrown 3 hours as well. Al Faris in the middle, drawn 23. He's one of the fans. I thought he travelled like a horse, far better than a handicapper at York last time. Just given too much to do. I think he's the most likely winner out the front of the market. But my two outsiders, one either side. Frank's already gone on about Morden. I like Morden as well. I think he probably didn't really stay in the John Smiths, but other than that, he's just been really, really progressive. Simon Christopher has a really good record with cheek pieces as well. I think he's only had 1 horse out the first 4 in the last 2 years when he's put first-time cheek pieces on. And the other one is Mountain Hunter. Now, he seems to be the Godolphin second string, given he's more than twice the price of very talented, who won his side 2 years ago, has had one run in 2 years since, and that was only 9 days ago. I think he might bounce, but Mountain Hunter was in terrific form in Maidan in the spring. He won a handicap very easily off a mark of 100, then ran second off his current mark of 105 to Blair House, who won a Group 1, beating Ben Battle next time out. Mountain Hunter has had one run since 16 days ago, got no sort of run in a good Class 2 handicap at Doncaster. Would have gone very close. That was a race that Prince of Johan, who won this in 2011, that was a race that he prepped in. I thought it was a really, really eye-catching run from a horse who's lightly raced and could be better than a handicapper as well.
Marvellous, thank you, lads. Let's do Haydock next.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
OK, so we've got 2 ITV4 races at Haydock, backing up the Newmarket action. The first of those is the 205, the Smarkets Betting Exchange Handicap. Frank, 3-1 the field.
Yeah, Mitcham Swaggers 3-1, Aquarium 11-2, Border Force and Just His 7-1, Escobar and Al Arag 15-2, and 10-1 Barks. I don't want to say the name of that Jardine horse.
OK, I'll leave that to our head of pronunciation, David Jennings. David, who's going to win?
Al Emarat Alium. Al Emiratium. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, okay. There's an enigma in here, and it'll be interesting because I know Keels has a soft spot for this horse as well. But one of the horses I hate most in training, I fancy here, and it's called Yufton, who's the outsider of the whole field. Now, he's down to a career low mark of 97, so he's gone right down. Like, if you think of it, he was rated, I think, as high. He definitely got to 105. I think he might have even got higher. But he's back from a 387-day break. He's won off a 232-day break, and he's finished second off a 272-day break, and he's also finished a close-up fourth after a 91-day break. So I think he certainly has proved that he goes well fresh. He's also the type of, are you allowed to curse on this, the type of fucker that might just improve for a change of scenery. When he went to Johnny Murtis, he sparked up his ideas. Then when he changed back to Roger Charlton, he sparked up his ideas as well. And I just wonder, he switched to John Butler now, and I just wonder, will it just give him the new lease of life that he gets maybe for 1 or 2 runs each season? He has so much natural ability. A track like Haydock should suit. He's chucked in off his mark. If he's got any semblance of the old ability there, he should be well capable of being competitive here, and he's the outsider of the whole field. So it's Yufton for me.
You'll cost me my job using language like that, young man. Keels, who'd you like?
Yeah, big old fan of Yufton, actually. He won the Balmoral Handicap a couple of years ago.
Did us a massive favour, didn't he?
That was second time out. I don't know whether he's being prepared for that, but off a mark of 97, he probably needs to get a penalty to get in it. So, it can go well, but the big factor here is the ground and what it's going to be. Now they're calling it good to soft at the moment, but it's the same go and stick reading as when it was heavy at the previous meeting. So we need to find out. We know, according to the BHA update site, it hasn't rained there for a week, so we'll see. Now Mitcham Swagger interested me earlier in the week, but his price has gone, and the ground might be going back against him if it dries out. And I'm interested in Yufton, but I think Escobar is a very, very talented horse. He's had a lot of tough tasks since he won very easily on this track in June. And if it dries out anymore, I think he's a massive, massive player. It's not that he doesn't handle soft ground. He's only ever run on it once, and he wasn't beaten far by Beat the Bank in a Group 2. I just think he just seemed to really like the track when he ran there last time and won very easily. So he'd be the one for me. Yufton, by the way, was once rated 116, was actually second but disqualified in the Prix Jean Prat as a 3-year-old.
Blimey O'Reilly. Frank, who's your selection?
Yeah, I'm going to give Escobar one last chance. He's been eye-catching enough this season on numerous occasions. He's run a cracker at Sandown behind Tigre de Thiers off 102. A Goodwood off the same mark. He got absolutely mullered in the run when Seniority won. Again, he went off 92 that day. He went up to Group 3 level, the Leopardstown. He didn't really handle that, and he was drawn out of things at Leopardstown the last day over 7. But I think returned to a mile and to Haydock. He won really well there this year, early in the season before the Hunt Cup off 95. He's only 7 higher. I think he can definitely win off that mark, and hopefully the ground isn't any worse than the good to soft they're saying. If it isn't, I think he has a massive chance, and he'd go off a fair bit shorter than whatever he is, 7-1, 15-2.
Okay, OK, also on ITV4 is the 3:15. It's the Smarkets Handicap. Take it away with a show of betting, Frank.
Yeah, Dakota Gold is 5-1. Holmes with 11-2. Tarboot 13-2. Confessional 8-1. Final Venture, Diamond Dougal, Militia 10-1. Blue de Vega and Tommy G are 12-1, and we're 14s bar.
Not a very easy 5 furlong test to this, Keels, is it? You've tipped and backed quite a lot of these in your time. Who are you going to pin your faith in today?
Pretty much all of them, to be honest. To be honest, I found this really, really hard. I like the fact that Diamond Dougal has won at the track before. He probably didn't run that badly last time. It's one of those where you can, you could have 4 or 5 picks in a race that is so hard you still wouldn't get one in the frame. It'd be Diamond Dougal for me, just about. I think Swaddalow can go well if in the right mood at an even bigger price.
Keels likes Diamond Dougal. Frank, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to give Holmes with a chance with the draw, and I'll tell you why. There seems to be a lot of pace high here with the likes of Poyle Vinny drawing 16, likes to be prominent, Bozzy Poppin 12, Just Glamorous in 14. So I think there'll be a fair bit of pace there, and I might be able to tow him into the race. Now, he went off fab for the Portland the last day, but I think he finished, was it 8th or something there? But he went off 13-2 fab, beaten 4 lengths, wasn't disgraced. I just think the way this race is set up, I think it might just suit him. Dakota Gold, if he ever learned to settle, would be an absolute certainty off 90, but he just pulls too hard in his races to really see it out properly. But for me, Holmes was probably just the pick.
And DJ?
Well, Bruce, this was one of these sprint handicaps that I absolutely hate, and it was going to be one of these races where you come to me and I say, look, I talk shite for long enough on other races, so just move on. But then I had a look at Tarboot, who stands out obviously because he's won his last 3 races, and I just cannot for the life of me figure out why he's won his last 2 races, 2 conditions races at Hamilton and Nottingham, with his head in his chest, absolutely bolted up on both occasions, including last time at Nottingham when he pulled for 4 to 5 furlongs, and he's still absolutely bolted up. And he's gone up £2. He's only gone up £2 for absolutely bolting up in his last 2 races. Can't figure it out. Can't understand why he's not favourite. And I think he'll win.
OK, jolly good. Right then, what have we got that is not your nap and is not one of the races we've already talked about? Paul Keeley.
Yeah, 350 at Haydock. Calder Prince just runs really well there nearly every time he runs. I think he's going to have a good chance. He's won there on soft ground as well as fast ground, so whatever it is, he'll be fine. And there's a couple at Newmarket. In the 525, there's a nursery. And the nursery won by Stay Classy at Doncaster. I thought that was pretty good. But also finished 4th is EV Speed. And I know the trainer said he thought a fair bit of her after she won her maiden. She was 4th. She was beaten about 3.5 lengths, but with the turnaround in weights and a claim run, she's about a stone better off. I think she must go well. And in the last 555, Spanish City has been threatening to win a decent 7 furlong handicap all season. I think he's about £6 better off for 3/4 of a length with Rip Off on their Ascot run, and he was 2nd in the Bunbury Cup on the July course. I think he must go close in that race.
OK, Frank, what have you got for us?
Yeah, Haydock 425. Baydar was very unlucky not to win at Chester the last day. He didn't get there. He was beaten ahead, I think. Ian Williams in terrific form at the moment too. He's 30% for the past week, and he's won this race twice in the last 5 years. Bader obviously needs the ground on the soft side, which he gets again here. I think he should go well, and the Gosling horse Surrey should make the market. So you might even get hopefully 5-1 or so. So it'd be a fair price. You could probably back it each way if you want. Also at Chester, the 420, the 7.5 furlong novice race. There's a Kevin Ryan horse returning from a year's absence called Akanij Bay, was 4th in his debut at Thirsk, won really impressively at Leicester second time out on heavy ground, beating Port Swathan. Now that horse is rated 90 now. This is a very weak race. He should win. I think there's probably a good handicap at him down the line. He's definitely one to watch him, and he'll probably be a sharp price. Chester 530, Aldous Store. Third the last twice, held up too far off the pace at Hamilton last time when it didn't suit. Steps up and trip here. I think he'll go well. And there's one to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if it's a bet, but this has been my tracker since now the start of the year. But the 7.15 at Chelmsford, straight right, was unbelievably impressive at Newcastle, but that was 220 days ago. Well worth watching the video. I'm not sure if he'll need this run or not, but it's one to watch with. There's a very big handicap in this horse, I guarantee it. And in the 5.55 Newmarket, Daniels Flyer has been running really well this year. Very unlucky at Leopardstown last week. Would have got me out for the day, but he had to wait for a run, and flashed home. Was only beaten, I think, 2 necks in fourth or three next. He was unlucky at good with the time before. He got kicked at the start, didn't get the clearest of runs there behind Flaming Spear, and he was caught on the line at Galway in that valuable 7 furlong handicap by Safe Voyage. And funnily enough, he's not really good up the handicap either. Like, he ran a Galway off 92, he ran a Goodwood off 93, and he ran a Leopardstown off 91. He finds out here off 92. He's won at the track before last year, over 6 furlongs off America 93. I think he's a massive each-way player there.
Lovely. DJ, what have you got for us?
Just 3 for me, Bruce, and I'll keep it short and sweet. Frank mentioned one of them, Al Destor in the 5:30 at Chester, given a shocking ride last time. I thought its previous course form was probably good enough to take that. Al Destor in the 5:30 in the race before at the 4:55 at Chester. I'm going to give Balawi another chance for Roger Varian. Down to Mark. She's a 3-year-old filly who actually ran quite well at Chelmsford on its second start, and then was second in a novice auction race at Lingfield. Started 13-8 favourite to win a handicap, or to win its last race at Wolverhampton. Was rated 77 then. It's been dropped £4. Didn't run well there, but it's been dropped £4 to 73. I'd say she's a better filly than that. That's Balawi in the 4:55. And the one I'm very interested in is in the 3:55 at Ripon. Merlin makes its first start of the season. Won a Nottingham maiden last year, then won off 79 and 86. It's obviously had problems, but it's back. It's back on the track off a mark of 94. I think it can reach a 3-figure rating. It's a good horse, and Michael Bell's team are in cracking form. Of his last 16 runners, he's had 4 winners, 4 seconds and 4 thirds. So his team couldn't be in better form. So that's Merlin in the 3:35 at Ripon.
OK, you three lovelies, let's have some decent naps.
This will not be beaten.
Frank Hickey.
Newmarket 5:25, Shalor in the 7 furlong handicap for your favourite trainer, Bruce, Rafe Beckett. This horse was beaten on debut by Le Pelosa. Now, Le Pelosa ended up being second in the Albany, won a Group 1 in Woodbine last time out. Absolutely hacked up in its main at Leicester at a very sharp price. Went off 11-2 for the Duchess of Cambridge. Went third behind Pretty Pollyanna. Now ultimately well beaten in 13 lengths. But that was a decent enough race. Le Pelosa was behind. Main Edition was behind. Angel's Hideaway was ahead. That's come out and won a group race since. She gets in here off a mark of 89. I could barely believe my eyes she's in off that mark. I think she's an absolute... I won't say certainty, but she's not got the greatest draw, but it's a ridiculous mark. I think she's very well handicapped.
Beautiful, well in. DJ, who's your nap?
It's not great to have Frank Hickey's excitement back. It's just I just wish the race was in 30 seconds time.
Yeah, I know.
My nap is I just fell in love with Kadar when he won on its maiden, when it won on its debut at Haydock. So I'm going to go for Kadar in the 150 at Newmarket.
And Keels.
Yeah, I'm just going to go for the value. I think 7 places. Mountain something in the...
Hunter.
Mountain Hunter, that's it, in the Cambridgeshire 340.
Don't write mountain something, you won't get paid out. And by the way, if you're not on WhatsApp, if you're not following Racing Post on WhatsApp, you really should do. There's loads of great stuff on there. You just go to racingpost.com/WhatsApp, and Paul Keeley is going to hand out a bonus tip tomorrow if you subscribe, so that'll be worth watching out for. OK, thank you, chaps. We will do Sunday next.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Hi there, it's the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. Looking ahead to 3 meetings on Sunday. I'm Bruce Millington, and joining me to do so are Paul Keeley, David Jennings and Paddy Power's Frank Hickey. We will start at Naas over in Ireland, where there are no fewer than 4 group races. We'll take them in chronological order. The first is the 220. It's the World Park Stakes. Group 3, over 7 furlongs. Do we have prices yet, Frank?
No, we only have the Beresford from Sunday, Bruce. That's
OK, well, give us the winner of the World Park then, Frank.
I would think that it's a tricky little race, but Tretius, I think is how you pronounce it, for Jessie Harrington would be the one I'd be interested in backing, depending on the prices. She was 4th on debut at Gore and over 7, but she really appreciated the step up to a mile the curve when she easily beat Pink Dogwood, who was impressive winner of Gore and subsequently in a maiden. She went to Leopardstown the last time in a listed event where Foxtrot Live, who reopposed, was second, but she was drawn at 13, which wasn't great really, but she was a massive eye catcher. She was wide the whole way around, and I'd say she must have passed about 10 horses in the straight. You think this track would suit a bit better, she'd be able to run them down, and I'd say she's the one to beat for me anyway.
Who's the one to beat for you, DJ?
It's Tretius, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, Tretius is, I think, is the way you pronounce it. Yeah, it was a real eye catcher last time. Do you know what, though? I'm just going to play it reasonably safe here with Hermosa, who I think is progressive. She won a Galway maiden, was third to Skitter Scatter in the Moigler last time, and made a lot of late headway there. I know, obviously, we spoke earlier about Lady Kaya and how they probably went too quick there with Main Edition, but I just like the way Hermosa stayed on. I just think she could be one of these juvenile fillies that just progresses throughout the season. So, not very strongly, but I'm just going to give my verdict very slenderly to Hermosa.
Keels, have you got involved? Have you had a nice study up? Do you want to join in the fun?
Yeah, I've had a look. I mean, it looks like this Trethius is the Harrington first string with Cole Madonna riding it, because he's been riding Sir Valin. I'd like to know what happened to Sir Valin at the Car in around her stakes when she was last of 8 behind 10 Sovereigns, beaten a long way, because that just wasn't her form. She was only beaten a length and a quarter at Royal Ascot by Signora Cabello. If she comes back to that sort of form, she's got to have a decent chance. She did win her maiden here very easily, and the ground is going to be fast again as it was then. So I'd give her a chance if there was if she was a decent each way price.
Righty-ho, the 255s, the Luff Brown Stakes. It's a Group 3 over 2 miles. Some of the great names of Irish training are involved here. Willie Mullins, Aidan O'Brien, Dermot Weld, Jessica Harrington. Absolutely amazing stables. Should be an interesting race. Frank, who wins?
It's a very interesting race, but I think Falcon 8 is by far the most interesting horse in the race. This is half-brother to Free Eagle. He's won really impressively both times, over a mile and a half the Curragh in July, and then in August he beat the 96 rated Light Pillar doing handstands over mile 3 furlongs. Now he's stepping up on trip here, but they talked about him straight after that Clarny race as an Irish Ledger horse for next year. Now what would turn me off a little bit is Dermot Weld's form at the moment. He's one win from 20 runners, run to form ratio of 25%, which isn't great, but like the rest of them are, they're solid without being spectacular, and if there's one really above average stayer here, he could potentially hit, and despite the trainer form, I'd be willing to chance him.
DJ?
Yeah, this is really, I would go as far as to say that Falcon 8 is the most interesting horse running on Sunday. I think he could be that good. I think he's actually a 3 parts brother to Free Eagle, and he's also related to Custom Cut and Sapphire. He's a half brother to them. The funny thing about Falcon 8 is it absolutely bolted up at Killarney, but it traded at 5.4 in running. So that tells you a story in itself. It was over a mile and 3. There was a brief moment where it looked like it was going to get outpaced, and then what it did in the final 200 yards was quite remarkable, I thought. It told me that this is obviously an exceptional stayer, and even after the race, Declan McDonough struggled to pull him up. I think he could be very, very good. It's the reason the race is so interesting, because you've got the likes of Twilight Payment, who's a rock solid stayer, rated 109, who will run his race and probably run to close to that mark. You've got Cypress Creek, who was 6th in the Irish Ledger. So it's a race where Falcon 8 will need to be well above average to win, but it's just that last 200 yards. I can't get away from it at Killarney. I think the step up to 2 miles is going to be right up his street, and it reminds me an awful lot of a stayer a couple of years ago called Forgotten Rules from Dermot Weld stable. I think he could be another Forgotten Rules. So yeah, Falcon 8 for me.
2 votes for Falcon 8. Kills, is it 3?
No, I really find it hard to go in with the best horse. With a horse with the worst form, just because it's unbeaten. I mean, he's got to do an awful lot to catch up with these and do it very quickly. And the other thing is, we seem to be taking it for granted that he's going to stay. Let's Free Eagles are 10 furlongs, Custom Cut's a miler. He's got that pedigree that says he should be faster than he is, and he might just be slow. I don't know. I would take him on because he's going to be a short price. I think Twilight Payment is very, very solid. Will run his race.
OK, the 4 o'clock is the Renaissance Stakes. It is a 6 furlong Group 3. Frank, who wins?
David might know. I went through this race a couple of times. I honestly haven't a clue.
You haven't got a clue. All right.
It's a terrible Group 3. I couldn't have a bet in that, and that's saying a lot.
Righto, David, are you going to have a bet?
It's an absolute pile of shite. My heart ruling my head. Gordon Lord Byron is rated 110. He is pretty consistent. The rest of them are rogues. Like St. Patrick's Day is an absolute fake. And then you've got the likes of, Unfortunately, who has form figures of 7,009. Like, the rest of them are probably not good enough. I just hope for the sake of the race and to give Naas a bit of a lift that Gordon Law Byron would win, because it would be remarkable for the 10-year-old to win again. And he's a real likeable horse, but Jesus, it's an awful race.
I just hope horses can't sue, because we'd be in big trouble. Keels, come on, bring some enthusiasm to this heat.
Gordon Law Byron is running. What a horse he's been over the years.
Exactly. I don't know what's wrong with these people. It's going to be great.
He was second to Expert Eye only 3 starts ago at York. Expert Eye's like second favourite to win a Group 1 on Arc Day. What a fantastic horse he is. I hope he wins. He's the best horse in the race at the weights and officially. So let's hope he does.
Okay.
Obviously he's been a bit below performance on his previous 2 starts, but if he puts his best foot forward, he'll win.
He's a magnificent beast. The highlight of the card is the 505. It's the Beresford Stakes, a Group 2 over a mile, and Aidan has a very hot favourite, Frank.
Yeah, Mount Everest is 8-11, Japan 9-2, Sovereign 7-1, Pythian 8-1, Power of Now 10-1 and 16 bar.
Front 3 all trained by Aidan. Will he dominate the race itself, Frank, do you think?
Well, he's won it 8 times in a row and he's won 9 of the last 10, so
He's got half a
like
chance.
He's definitely going to win it again, I think. Which one it is, I think I haven't had a look at this race till about an hour ago, and I think Mount Everest is far too short, I would think. At the prices, I'd probably chance Sovereign. He was impressive at Galway on easy ground the last day. That was over 1.5 miles of furlong. He should be very strong at the finish here, and it just looks too much of a gap. Like Mount Everest won, he won at Cormay in the last day. He was impressive enough, but he was beaten at Cork the time before by Duckett's Grove, and he was run over at Newbury last week. I don't think he's that much of a superstar. The prices, there's too much of a gap between them for me.
Okay, Frank, DJ, rather, do you share Frank's reservations about the jolly here?
He's a little bit deceptive in that he doesn't have many gears, and he even the last day at the Curragh, he was off it from a fairly early stage. Donegal was always just niggling along. He went off 6-4 favourite. I think he traded as big as 9-2 in running, and he was well on top of the line. But I think he's deceptive. I think he will be a proper stayer. I'm not sure he's a speed horse, but I think he'll probably win. Sovereign won a Mickey Mouse race at Galway. Japan, I think he's the best of them, and I think they think a lot of him. One horse, though, that I think is better than he showed last time, could be a huge price, is Guaranteed from the Jim Bulger stable. It ran an absolute shocker last time against Anthony Van Dyke. Never travelled, never looked like doing anything in the futurity. The fact that he was started second favourite that day at 6-1 suggests they think a bit of him. He beat Mount Tabora when he won his maiden, and he was second to Clute in the maiden before that. I just think he had a complete off day for one reason or another the last time. I think he's 16-1 with Powers. I think he could chase home Mount Everest, but I think Mount Everest is probably the most likely winner.
And Paul, what do you fancy?
Well, you're looking at the form book. I mean, you wonder what would the prices be like if Ryan Moore was on one of the other two and not this one, because there's nothing at all remotely special about Mount Everest form. It's as simple as that. But Aidan O'Brien has 3 ridiculously well-bred Galileo colts in the race. Mount Everest is by 6 perfections. Makes him a brother to Yucatan, who was okay but not brilliant. Japan's a brother to Sir Isaac Newton, who was probably better than Yucatan. It's all guesswork, and the bookmakers have come down with an odds-on quote, and to me, I would be laying that all day long, 8-11. I've no idea what's going to win, but to me, that's just a lay at odds on.
Okay, so Frank and Paul both think Mount Everest has got a mountain to climb. Here we go then. Let's look at the GB action on Sunday. Epsom and Musselburgh. Keels, have you sussed anything for us?
I haven't got anything at Musselburgh. Epsom's my local track, and they closed down their season with a very competitive card. I went on about a Doncaster nursery earlier on, and there's a horse in the first race, the 2 o'clock, called Lady Cosette, who was favourite for that race, but a big drifter on the day. I think she's better than she looked there, and the extra half furlong will definitely be in her favour. Jeremy Nassis is a good form, booked under out at Zany. I think that will go well. Lady Cosette, and a couple of races later, Juanito Chico, having his second start for Stuart Williams. He won a race on Oaks Day, I think it was, last year at the track over 7 furlongs. He ran pretty okay first run for his new yard a couple of weeks ago at Sandown. I think coming back to Epsom, which he handled so well last year, he's got to go close only £3 higher.
Juanito Chico in the 3:35 at Epsom. Thank you very much indeed, chaps. Jolly good. Right then, weekend plans. Kills, I guess you're just recuperating, aren't you? Or are you going to...
Yeah, I think so. It's like, men are sort of renowned for being total wimps when it comes to having colds, and I think I'm the epitome of that. I'm just such a baby.
I bet you'll still get yourself out, won't you?
Yeah, well, I might do, you see, because my daughter's got her friends coming over tonight, and my wife's been on nights, and we're going to bed early, so I might find myself down in the pub.
Okay, well, take it easy, Kills. You're not as young as you used to be. We need you back fit and well. DJ, what have you got lined up?
I'm working tomorrow, Bruce. I'm in Navan, and I'm off Sunday, but it will be relatively low-key, saving pennies for the wedding.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And Frank, what's happening with you this weekend, my
Yeah,
friend?
busy weekend. There's work drinks tonight for the racing team, so I might call in there for a little bit. Then I'm heading down to Cork tomorrow. My old hurling team are playing a county semi-final in Parky Ring, so I'm going to go watch that tomorrow evening. And then on Sunday, I haven't seen my grandmother in a long time, so I'm calling down to her and take her out for lunch. She's
Lovely
nearly 90,
stuff.
so...
Christ. Yeah. And Jill's well, is she?
Oh, very good, yeah. Very good.
Glad to hear it. Lovely to have you, Frank. Don't leave it so long next time.
No, I'm back next week, Bruce.
Oh, fantastic. That's excellent. Oh, yeah, it's art weekend next weekend. So Frank's back, so all is well in the world. Maddie is back on Monday with the gang to review the action and also look ahead to the ARC as well. We've got football next week. We've got golf as well. So plenty happening on the Postcast. So do join us all next week for more great racing podcasts.
Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather, or the gym.